right, welcome everybody. Thank you so much for taking some time this morning. Applause to begin, I take that. Good to see you all. This is a co-pastor update. We got, lots of things going on, lots of change, and just felt like a good time to just touch base and have some conversation. We'll probably wait for questions and conversation at the end, if you'll let us get through a few different things. I want to welcome folks at home. We are live streaming this as well, so thank you all who are at home also tuning in. And let me just start with a little prayer, and just to kind of center us, and we'll get started, okay? Loving God, we thank you for this place that has meant so much to all of us, the way your Spirit moves through this church, the love in the hearts of the people that call it their spiritual home. And so on this beautiful spring day, help us to be grateful, to be humble, and to be present to each other this morning. In your holy name we pray. Amen.
I do want to begin by acknowledging that today, May 7th, was going to be the departure date for my dear colleague. I'm so glad you're here.
Thank you.
I really am.
Thank you. Wow, thank you.
Yes. So I don't have to be really nice to him today. Just back to normal. We want to lay out 3 C's. We love this kind of thing. 3 C's that we are focusing on in the days ahead that are just going to help give us some guide posts or bumpers.
Guardrails, yeah.
What's that?
Guardrails.
All those metaphors. And the first C is clarity. We know that people get anxious when things are not clear. And in a vacuum of information, anxiety can grow in an organization. So we commit to you as a staff to try to be as clear as possible about what is going on in this time in Montview's life. We do have a lot of shifting pieces and parts to the whole, and our heads are spinning as well, but we just want to commit to you that we are going to try to be as clear as possible. Connected to clarity is communication. And with clarity, we will try to message that and communicate what's going on and changes happening. And as they unfold, we will commit to communicating what is happening and good and hard. And the third is connection. And that is a value. Connectivity is a value that we hold very dear on staff, that the staff feels very connected and supportive of one another. And we want you to feel connected, not only to us and the staff, but to one another. And so we're holding connectivity as a value and a lens through which we can decide what are the important things that we should be doing as a community of faith. So connecting with one another, building relationships in a time and an age of isolation and loneliness in the world, in a post-quarantine world. We want to encourage connectivity and connection and relationships. So just know you will hear more about that, and you will hear us using that value around what we are deciding to do in the days ahead. Does that make sense?
Yeah, thank you. Along those lines of clarity and communication, I want to give you a little update on my son Ian and how that's what's happened since last talked, and then a little bit about my situation and going forward. The last time I really publicly spoke, I was in the pulpit probably a few days, a week before his a very significant surgery. Any of you that are new and sitting here, my son was diagnosed with a brain tumor about 5 weeks ago now, or thereabouts. And he had a biopsy, and one little brain surgery, and then a week ago, Wednesday, was a very long, very serious attempt to get as much of the tumor out as they could. And they thought it would be 6 to 7 hours. It ended up being over 10 hours and was largely miraculously successful. So they didn't get all of the tumor out. They didn't expect to. It's a pineoblastoma. It's in the middle of his brain. It's not easy to get to. It's not where you'd want a tumor to be. But we were in very good hands, and this will be the only place I think that I'll get emotional, but around that, we were in very good hands, and I am very grateful to that doctor and to Children's Hospital and to the miracle of all of you who are in the medical field. It is stunning what we can do. He still has a long road ahead. We will go to, next is radiation. They think it's small enough now that radiation has a very good chance of getting the rest of it. That will be in Phoenix, Arizona at the Mayo Clinic. Probably starting in about 3 weeks, we'll be there. And he will be there for 6 weeks of doing daily radiation treatments. I'm sure many of you have had those for different things. I will be mostly here. His mom will be mostly with him, but I'll make trips down to Phoenix now and then to be with my boy during all that. After those 6 weeks, then he'll have 6 months of chemotherapy, pretty significant chemotherapy. He'll be at Children's Hospital for a few days at a time, wait a month, do it again, 6 treatments. But the studies that they have on this treatment plan are very positive. So it's a long path, it is a hard path, but there's a path, and I am so grateful. So grateful for all of it, so grateful for your prayers during that surgery, and it was really important to us, so thank you. So yes, glad to be able to report that, so grateful to be able to report that. And then switching over, what weird timing, right? 5 weeks before I'm planning to retire from a job I've loved for 20 years, and here we are on the day that I was to be my last day. So strange. So, as you can imagine, when all this started to happen, we talked and Session talked and said, okay, let's just hit the pause button on this. Let's let the dust settle a bit. Let's get through that surgery and see where we are. And what we'd like to do is postpone my retirement date. If you'll stick with us for another few weeks to a month or so for Session to meet again and let's talk a little more, we'll have an exact date for you. And we don't have that yet, and we'll have it soon, and we're sorry not to have it yet. But let's postpone my retirement, because ideally, I would love to leave on a day where we can celebrate that my son is healthy again, and it's about my 20 years of ministry and not this sadness that's in our family right now. Certainly also grateful not to have to think about getting another job during this time and all of the transition that we were planning for in my life, to have that stable, to have health care not changing to something else, all of that is so grateful for. And just, I need you now. I need, the community. Sorry. So that's important. Thank you, Ms. Collins. So that's a piece of this, and the thought of, just saying goodbye today and not having this community that's been so important to me for all these years doesn't feel right either. So I'm very grateful. If you all are open to it, the session's been open to it. Of course, the staff has been open to having this postponed time. And, it's not like I didn't like it here. I will be glad. It'll be fun to be here, and keep preaching and being the pastor.
You like working with me.
I like being Glover's co-pastor. I love, it just felt like it's time, and it still does, but it's not, it certainly wasn't hard to be here, and so it won't be hard to be here as your pastor for another time. A few specific things I can tell you. We'd like to, in terms of knowing that I'm going to need a little more time with family and just energy-wise, it's not easy doing the work that we're going to be doing. We'd like to reduce my pay to 75% of what it normally is. That's not so much about 75% time as energy. I know I'm going to need to resource energy in different places. There will be times where I can't show up in the same way. There will be times where I'll want to go down to Phoenix, and it's just going to be a little messier than if this weren't happening. And that gives me permission to do those things and to prioritize my family. I want to make really clear that this is something I've asked for. I think this church would do whatever, you would do whatever you needed to do to support me. I feel it completely, from the staff, from the session, from the congregation. This is the plan that I would like to propose that we do. It feels really good to me. So for the time being, reduce my hour or my pay so that I have the permission because I just can't give it to myself. I know you would give it to me. I can't give it to me. Okay? So this is about me. To do what I need to do to prioritize family when that's the thing to do. But here's the other thing I really want to ask of you. I want to keep being your pastor. I don't want to stay at home. I really ask that you don't, I don't want to bother Ian, so I'm going to go around here, and there's so many things that are out of control in my life right now that I can't control. Give me the control of saying yes or no to being your pastor in a particular moment, okay? I know how to do that. Thank you. Because if I can't in a particular moment, I'll say so. And I'll say, we need to delegate that. I can't do that right now. But if I have the control over that, I'll feel like I'm here and I'm not, I hope that makes sense. I also want you to know that I have a wonderful group of friends and family outside of this church, totally outside of this church, that have circled us and are supporting us and loving us. And Laura really wants to be a mom during this time and make dinner and clean the house and she wants to be the mom to her beloved son. And so we don't need a lot of things. But that love and support, the prayer, it really does make, that Wednesday at the surgery, really, I felt it. And we'll have more of those times. So if you would sincerely keep holding us in your heart and in your prayer, that's the thing we need. That's the thing we need. And if once in a while it's like, a meal would be good, I'll ask for it. We'll get with the deacons and we'll do that kind of thing, okay? But let me keep being your pastor. Let me make the choices of when I can't help and when I can. What else is that? Anything else we were going to say about that?
I think he needs DoorDash cards.
DoorDash would be okay.
DoorDash gift cards, and
right.
they can choose where and when.
Right. I think that's, if at the end here we'll have time for questions and conversation. If you have questions that I'm not thinking of, please feel free. Anytime you see me, feel free to ask how Ian's doing. Feel free not to ask how Ian's doing. It's okay. I'm doing okay. As somebody just said, strangely, you are, but I have a lot of support. I have faith. I have a lot of faith. It's funny in these moments where you go, I think I actually believe this stuff. There's something to this, And I don't mean I believe in a particular outcome and it's going to turn out, God is not Santa Claus, but I believe that the world is held by love and is good and no matter what. And I really do. And it's these are one of those moments where you kind of go, yeah, I think I do. So we're doing okay. It's, lots of tears, lots of things, but we're doing okay. So thank you for that. Okay.
Connected to all that is the suspension, or at least the pause, on the interim co-pastor search. And the committee has done amazing work already. They were beginning some interviews and getting applications, but they've put that on pause. Session decided to hold the search until we know more. And so for now, we are not searching for an interim co-pastor, and that's good. That's very good. We have a couple other searches going, 3 other searches though, and I'm looking here for Phil Worth, who is going
There he
to...
is. There he is. Come on up, Phil.
Come on up. Run up here. There's a handheld mic right now. So Phil is going to give us the update for the Associate Pastor Nominating Committee for Youth and Family Ministries.
Thank you, Clover and Ian. First, let me just say, in times where we have so much uncertainty, that it's so great to have the leadership that we have at Montview. That starts with Clover and Ian and continues along down the line, and Jason's a big part of that too, but it also includes you. Our lay leadership here is so strong. Session is such a good group of thoughtful people. The committees who have worked on these searches have put their hearts and soul into this. So look around. You are the fiber that makes this place great. So with that, the the Associate Pastor Nominating Committee for Youth and Families began meeting in December of last year with the goal of moving towards ordaining and installing Amanda Osinga, our current Minister for Youth and Families. It was less of it's been categorized as less of a search than a move to ordain and install. Nonetheless, we approached it as a search. So we followed the process described by Presbytery and all of the work that goes into that. We concluded that with a recommendation to Session, who voted to accept, or they approved our recommendation. Personnel had already budgeted for this, and so her terms of call had also been approved, and now that had made its way to the Denver Presbytery. By the way, in the process of this, we advertised for the job even, and so we went through posting the job, and we interviewed Amanda, and that was a very enlightening experience, and I would like to thank a couple of people, or a bunch of people. First, the previous search committee, they did the job right. They got the right person, and so we were corroborating that. This committee was made up of Gail Berry, Linda Klein-Oroz, Eden Murphy, Bob Noblet, Vivian Showalter, Stacy Whiteside, and then our COM liaison was Lucas Ndwele. And so I thank those people, as well as Amanda, who participated fully in this search. So here's where we are today. Yeah, thank you. So here's where we are today. Amanda has spoken with Presbytery, and she will meet with them officially. So she will go before Presbytery in August, and then after that, we will have a congregational vote on installing her, or calling her, and then we hope to have that ceremony in the fall sometime. In between all that time, Amanda is taking not one, not two, but 3 groups of our youth on 60 total youth on 3 different work trips this summer. So she's got a busy schedule ahead of her. So if there, I think we'll take questions at the end. Okay, good. So thank you again, and thank you to Amanda and the Youth and Families APNC.
Thank you, Phil. Just to clarify, the next step will be calling a congregational meeting. So we'll pick a date and advertise for that. That will be soonish. And you will have the opportunity to vote to receive Amanda as the next ordained and installed youth minister of youth and family. Associate pastor for youth and family. And then also to dissolve, you will vote to dissolve that search committee. So that's what will happen next. And then after that, she will go onto the floor of the assembly at the August Presbytery meeting. And after that, God willing, we have an ordination and installation service sometime in the fall. Okay, so there's still a few steps to go, but we're getting there. And then the next search taking place right now is Craig Parent here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, run up here, guys. I should have said, be in the front, be in the front. Oh, sorry.
What do you want me to talk about? Can you hear me? All right. For those of you, hopefully you all know, we're looking for an associate pastor for congregational care and older adults, which is just a gift. You're a hard act to follow, so I'm going to hopefully keep my emotions intact. The idea is to really create a vision for a spiritual center for older adults here at the church, and to really build up on what we've done here for our older congregants that Pete Hulak has done, and I'm sure all of you have been involved with. And so there are 8 of us on the committee, and so I want to just give a little shout out to those folks. Linda Chain, who's our co-chair, I think she's in the Sunday school wing, shaping our youth. Pat Shepard, are you out there? Randy Smith, Marty Sutherland, Pete Sabatusa, Matt McConville, I see you out there, and Mark Lowell. So thank you all for doing that. And where we're at right now is kind of on, I don't know, step 3, 3.5, 4, somewhere in there. And we've gone through qualifications for about 28 candidates. After we kind of went through a screening process, we sent candidates that we're more interested in. We sent them a set of 4 questions to learn a little bit more about them, and then to see who we'd like to bring in for interviews. So our interview process starts today at 1 o'clock. So if you see me not paying attention to the sermon, I'm probably thinking of some zinger questions for the interview today. So we have six candidates we're really excited about. We have 1 today, 2 tomorrow, 1 on Wednesday, and I think 2 on Monday. So that's kind of where we're at. We're excited, and I think we have some great candidates. So. Am I missing anything?
Thanks, Greg.
I think that's
All
great.
Right.
All right, thank you. I'll do a very quick update on the organist, the search for the organist position, and that has been a robust search. A small committee interviewing and listening to amazing music from these candidates, and some candidates have come in and played the organ so the committee could hear them. And we are down to 2 candidates being brought in, I believe, in the next couple of weeks. And the committee is very excited about those 2. And so interviews will take place here, and we'll get to do an interview, a couple interviews. So we are very excited about that. I'm kind of eclipsing, what am I doing? Eclipsing? That doesn't sound right. Adam reporting in. So I thank you. Moral of the story is we have good candidates coming in, moving along. And so all of these committees, you should give great thanks for their work and their commitment and their representation. We need to never lose sight of the fact that candidates are interviewing us as well, right? So they want to know why they might want to be part of this congregation. So it's a two-way relationship, and I think we're doing okay. I think we're doing really well. So that's good. All right. And relatedly to Adam, this is going to be right under the wire. If we can extend a call to a new organist, that will hopefully happen as Adam leaves. Only for a short time, though. 3 months, Adam Wade is going on sabbatical, starting your last Sunday is the 21st of May, and he will be gone until August 20th, and we will miss him dearly, and his wry sense of humor, and his little bit of sarcasm, and it's just the joy that he brings to the staff. No, we will miss him, but he is getting a much-deserved 3-month rest. So thank you.
Yep.
All right.
Can you believe it's been 8 years since these two came?
Yeah.
This summer is 8 years.
I totally can.
It's only felt
High
like
five.
12, right? We've been through a lot, haven't we?
We have done a lot, yes.
Oh my
in
gosh.
Almost 8 years.
Capital
Yes, we have.
campaign, pandemic, political shifts in the country. It's a lot.
Yeah.
So, all right. How about
Okay,
some
great.
questions?
Yes.
Thoughts,
we
conversation?
If
Jason will have
there-
a microphone. If you speak into the microphone so that the folks that watching online can hear the question or the comment. Really can be about any of it, from the searches, yeah.
Is the building finished?
Not quite.
That's his.
Shall I take that one?
Totally his.
Mostly. We have a small punch list we're still working through. We have some electrical and tech punch list items related to the Miller Center. Largely that was related to components we've still been waiting for. I think over 2 years now, we're waiting for some of those components to arrive. And we have the fire alarm system, which you've probably seen the beautiful conduit being installed all over the building. That will be painted. That fire alarm system will be wrapped up here in about 3 or 4 weeks. So I would say in about 4 weeks or so, we should be finally finished. But I just want to offer another expression of gratitude for all of you who support the Capital Campaign. I hope as you navigate these spaces, you feel like you invested in the beauty and the new architecture. So thank you for all your generosity for the Capital Campaign.
Amen.
Yes.
Yeah. I would point out those railings that are nice and brightly brass. Those are going to be, I don't know the word, patinaed. Yeah, so they'll be darker when they're not finished. So that they'll match the other darker metalwork around the church. So those are coming.
As time goes on, right?
Right, and then they'll patina back lighter. As you rub them, they'll get lighter. Like it's a cool effect. So that's still coming.
The building looks incredible, does it not?
Yeah,
It's
yeah,
amazing.
yeah,
It's amazing.
Yeah.
What else? Any other questions?
Sure, an update on the sound. We received a generous gift through a bequest. So if you don't have Montview in your estate planning, please remember us. We received a really generous gift to replace these speakers with the new digital version that we had tested and we're happy with. That lead time, I think, was 6 months, and that was ordered around the first of the year. So I anticipate through the summer we'll be installing new speakers, and that should greatly improve some of the challenges we're having with this technology. So, thanks. Nice, Marilyn, thank you.
Could you repeat that?
Can you elaborate on the funding, the capital campaign? Is it complete? And also there was a application for
The employee
refund from the federal government.
So we are finalizing the budget on the capital campaign construction, and we have two large variables there. One is the final invoicing from our general contractor, Colorado Construction, and some of the final change orders that are coming through, and some additional invoicing from some subcontractors. So the final numbers aren't finished yet, but what we do know is that through some additional gifts from all of you when we put out the call, particularly around the fire alarm, where Denver Fire kind of last minute required us to update not just the fire alarm system in the places we were renovating, but in the entire building to the tune of $400,000. We put out a call for support for that, and many of you responded generously. We did receive, we applied for and received the federal employee retention credit, which was coming out of some of the legislation related to COVID, and we did receive some funds related to the employee retention credit, which offset the remaining balance cost of the fire alarm. So we're coming in really on budget because of those two big variables, the employee retention credit and additional gifts that all of you made. And I anticipate when we finish the last 4 or 5 weeks, we'll have all the railings finished. We'll have the tech and the AV finished. Then I can send out a report on the final budgets. The construction committee, we're trying to schedule a meeting here in the next 3 or 4 weeks to wrap up those final numbers as soon as we get final invoicing from the contractor. So we're looking very good. Yeah, very good.
Jason, let me add a bit about the Mission Impact Fund that was a part of that campaign, as you recall, that we earmarked $800,000 that we would give out to the community. And the Mission Life Committee has been working with the Rose Community Foundation. It's enough, we felt like it was a large enough amount that we wanted some expertise in that area to be able to really think through how do we do this well. And I'm really pleased with Rose. They've done a really beautiful job of you know, the decision making is all ours. I want to make clear, it's not like we've given the money to Rose to distribute. It's all done here. They're kind of walking alongside us, giving us guidance and making some of the things that are, it's just, you know, the request for proposals. They do this for a living, so it's easier having them alongside. We're up to a point where we've now hit the pause button until we have the first grant cycle is $400,000 of the $800,000 until we have it in hand, which we're anticipating first quarter of next year, that we'll have it in hand to give away. So we'll start again in the fall with Rose to finalize and get the RFPs out, start getting those in. So if you know both organizations that are local or international organizations, we're going to split that basically evenly. So around $200,000 we'll give out locally and about $200,000 internationally, since this church has always had a strong international connection as well. And that's probably the money that will be awarded probably first quarter of next year, which has taken longer. You know, all of this has taken longer than we had hoped, but it's gone smoothly, this part of it, even though it's taken longer, and I'm really pleased with the committee's work and Rose. So questions about that too? What else?
Question back there.
I may have missed it, but what is the status on sale of the manor and the money derived?
You want to do it? You want us to do it?
Go ahead.
So the manor has sold. We're very pleased. We just made the intentional decision to keep it as housing for low-income seniors, and so Archway, what's their full name? Archway Community entered into an agreement both with funding, from the city that requires them to keep it that way for, I think it's 60 years, is that right? So we have made an investment, this church, by selling it to a nonprofit for that specific purpose instead of selling it at market value, which would have been considerably higher, of course. By making that intentional decision and having a place for all the folks who live there, continue to live there, and insuring it for 60 years, we've made an investment in affordable housing in Denver for 60 years, which is a remarkable thing that we should all be proud of. Out of that, the proceeds that were seen from the sale of it, the Montview Manor Board were the decision makers on where those dollars would go, and half of them are going to the Denver Foundation to be distributed specifically for senior housing. This is in the bylaws that it had to be used for either senior housing or senior programming, senior services. The other half, basically 48%, are coming to this church to be used to, I won't say endow because that's not quite the right word, but this position that we're searching for right now, the associate pastor for congregational care and older adults, will be funded probably for the next 10 to 15 years through the proceeds that this church will receive, and we will slowly start to titrate into our budget the funding so that that's a smooth transition so that we can afford to keep doing that, having that position in place 10 to 15 years when those dollars run out. If that makes sense.
And the senior, the vision, we connected to that new position is a vision for, for lack of a better expression right now, we're calling a Center for Aging and Saging. So really focused on the particular and unique challenges and experiences and opportunities for senior adults, not only in Montview Church, but outside the walls of Montview Church. And so the question of how to have a center, that's not necessarily a brick and mortar location, but a center that focuses on partnering with other mission and agencies in the city to meet the needs of senior adults and to be a real model for how to have adults thrive in a growing population, as we know. About 10,000 boomers retire every day, is what I've read. So that's a lot of people. And so, anyways, I think it's a great vision. And so the person who will be hired, the associate pastor, will also have that in their portfolio. So.
Yeah, that's good.
Any other questions right here?
Can you help us understand how long the relationship with Nadia will continue as we have all these other staff and preaching changes? Because I assume in that question that the associate pastors will now be preaching
some.
as they come on the staff. So can you just give us a little perspective on the future of preaching and the future of Nadia?
Yeah. That's a great question.
Nadia's not here right now.
She's preaching today.
She's preaching today. She ran home to have breakfast and come back. She lives close. Nadia is what's called a resident theologian with Montview Church. She has a tri-covenant relationship with St. John Cathedral, the Episcopal Cathedral, and New Beginnings Lutheran, ELCA, community of faith in the Women's Correctional Institution. And so none of those are paid positions. right? Those are all in a covenantal relationship. So Nadia has been fantastic in preaching so often here at Mountview. That was not the original agreement. It was that she would preach and participate as needed, and she loves to preach. She's been very helpful to us, especially in this last year, as we've needed some support. And as of right now, this is an annual kind of covenant that we revisit and see how it's working, and she doesn't seem to be going anywhere, and she loves us and we love her, and we're so fortunate. If you look at the analytics of the viewership, the live stream viewership, or the YouTube or the Facebook views, after when sorry, when
Come
you
on, you really had to go there?
I know.
Yeah.
When Nadia preaches, they're like 7,000 views, like literally 7,000 views of Mountview Church. So she is putting us on the map for sure. You're doing well too.
Am I doing okay?
Yeah,
Yeah,
but not
700.
quite. I mean, you're very
700,
well, very
yeah.
well. But so again, Jean Ann, it's a gift to have her, and you'll hear she's in the pulpit this morning.
I would just add, I think in general, our agreement with Nadia has been to preach about once a quarter. During this transition time with all, it's been helpful to be able to have someone that we know is a solid preacher when we need someone. So you might see her a little more this summer. But in general, I think we're hoping that continues to be, a regular person. The larger question, though, that you ask about how is preaching going to change, I think we still see that as one of our primary core functions as your co-pastors, to be in the pulpit. Most Sundays, one of us is there. Amanda would like to preach once in a while, but it's not she hasn't expressed as our new associate pastor, though it's not an area where she wants to, really increase the once or twice that she tends to preach a year. And we anticipate the same for the congregational care pastor. If that person likes to preach, they might be once or twice. But I think, we're really saying you'll still see us, like it or not, most of the time. You're stuck with us. So, yeah. Okay. Good question, though. Yeah.
It is.
Anything else?
Jason's laughing. Jason's a great.
That's right. We get
Preacher on
Jason in the
bridge.
pulpit sometimes, too.
And let me add, I think Sandy will continue to preach periodically as well.
And Sandy,
Sandy's a great
right,
preacher,
right,
so
yeah.
Let me ask you kind of the more future-looking philosophical question. Montview sits out here as sort of a fairly amazing church in the middle of a sense that Protestant churches are not thriving. But we seem to be thriving, which is amazing. But that also has a feel like you can't let up. What do you do for the next 10 to 15 years to stay thriving in a world where we aren't the first thing people think about on Sunday morning anymore?
Well, funny you ask about stats, because I love looking at statistics of how the denomination is doing. I don't know what that is in me, but I do. And so the latest statistics for the PCUSA, to your point, right now, 89% of all of our congregations, 8,813 PCUSA congregations in the United States, 89%, almost 90% are under 300 members. 75% are under 150 members. 65% of all congregations are under 100 members. So yes, the main, and that, I would think that goes pretty well for other mainline denominations. What we're seeing, we just reached 1,601. I'm just saying, we are officially in the large church category. That makes us one of 44 large churches. And the large churches are doing well. They are holding strong. Now, that doesn't mean that we have to let up, but we are going into the new world of digital and hybrid ministry. I think we've mentioned before that we've had our first person who lives in Delaware ask if they could join our church. And this is not unusual either for large churches. This is a question that's happening about membership. What is it to be a member? How engaged do you have to be? If you're attending worship every Sunday, if you're pledging, if you participate in, say, an adult education class on Zoom, what is active membership? And this is a whole philosophical question going on in churches around the country. So these conversations are happening, and we're going to keep living into being open. There's a lot being written about it, and reading about it. Does that answer, Jeff, in some way? Okay.
I'd add, the world is changing fast. Technology, everything. The church needs to change with it. And if we as a church can be wise about where to put new energy and new programming, and where to be wise enough to say, we're not going to put new energy, and because all of the new programming and technology you can have doesn't mean much if we don't continue to be a congregation of people who show up for each other, who care about each other, who have a spiritual maturity, that we have something real to share from the pulpit on your staff side, and as a congregation are saying, how can I serve and how can I be here? We got to walk the walk and talk, and live what we're doing, what we're saying. If we do that, even if we don't get all the new things quite right, I think we're going to continue to be a place that will attract people. I think in other words, there is a hunger there. There are people who are searching for authentic spiritual growth. Absolutely. And we have a good start at that. We have a core of that we just need to hold on to and keep doing.
A friend of ours says, focus on presence, not product. And isn't that good? Presence, not product. And we have a presence in the world, and we have a presence here as a community of faith. We come for different reasons. Each of you started coming to this church for maybe a different reason than why you're here right now. And maybe you needed a hospital when you started. And maybe now you need an institution of education or an engagement in the world to show your faith in action. And so how can we not be all things to all people, but to have enough diversity of ministry going on that reaches the needs of those inside these walls and outside these walls? And I think if we keep asking those questions and being faithful, right, being faithful,
and
we'll
really
let the Spirit do the rest of the work.
That's right. I think this year, this is particularly important for this congregation, how we're going to show up with these new folks coming in, with what's going on at home for me, and this is just to name the emotional kind of back and forth that we're all have experienced because of we were starting to say goodbye to each other. And then this terrible thing happens, and you feel that because you care for me and you care for my family, and we're back but not forever. So how am I supposed to feel with that? This is challenging as a congregation, as a community, and it's really going to reveal our character, I think, as a community if we can stay connected during this time, assume trust, and when we're not getting something have the courage to say, I don't know why are we doing that? That's and have honest conversations with each other. This next 8 months is, and I feel really confident and faithful that we will show up in a way that's only going to bring us closer together. But this is a challenging time for this congregation, and I'm as the one who's creating a lot of that challenge, not creating it, but thank you for that. I wish I could take this from you and from us. I'm really aware of in the midst of already some big transitions that this church was going through, that the situation with my son has complicated that terribly, and I so complemented it. And I think we will, in some ways, I think we will learn some things together through this, because we will show up for each other, and it will be beautiful. But it won't be easy all the time. And so.
People keep asking, what can I do? What can we do? How can we help? We need to, we would like to support you all. And really, we keep saying, do what you do. Keep doing what you're doing. Show up. If you're in a ministry, on a committee, keep doing that. Pay your pledge. Keep leaning in. Don't take this time that's maybe a little wonky as a time to take a break. We not only do we need you, it is so good to be together in the house of God. So take that seriously.
And, well, you took my question, so thank you for asking. I was going to, and in This Week at Montview, every week, if you scroll down all the way to the bottom, there are volunteer opportunities, real concrete things that we need.
Yeah.
Folks to volunteer at the reception desk, read scripture. There's a whole
Greeters.
list. Greeters, we need greeters, and so take a look there. Last question,
I think Jim or someone over there had, Jim?
We're at 10:20, we're at 10:30. So.
Okay, last one.
I thank God every day for this church, this congregation of loving people. I am now officially an elderly person. But what I want to know is, are we coming to the end of denominationalism? And what can we do, we do, to help Denver Presbytery plan for what's going to happen not 10 years from now, but 25 years from now? Because it's likely it won't be there. And somebody, pray God, has got to be thinking about that. And maybe that somebody is us. Who says we can't head the presbytery? I used to think you could solve the presbytery's problems in the session meetings.
Jim, thank you for that. I think
Did you say end of denominationalism? Yeah.
Unless you have an answer to that, Clover, I think that stands, you asked it as a question, but I think it stands as a statement of what's coming and what we need to be reflecting on. As a leader in this denomination, this church can help to answer that question, that really important question as we go forward. I'm not sure I have anything to say specifically about it to you today.
And that question statement comes from a retired Presbyterian minister and his spouse, who's a retired Presbyterian minister and a Presbytery exec. Did you clear that from her before you said that? But I think, I'll just say, is I do think it's worthy of saying, I completely concur that denominations are on the wane, and if folks out there are showing an interest, particularly younger people, showing an interest in Christianity, we're doing well. Because that's on the decline as well. So there's not a big, a real desire to find out what denomination they want to belong to. So I think the days are coming where we need to take a hard look at ourselves. We're fighting over the same pool of people.
Which doesn't mean we can't bring the values of our Presbyterian heritage.
Right, don't get me wrong, because we are live streaming.
That's
so.
right.
I love the Presbytery.
No,
don't get me wrong.
in all seriousness, there's a lot of wisdom in all these different traditions, and we will continue with those, even if it has a different name or it looks different 20 or 30 years from now. Yeah. So, yeah. All right.
I think
we're at 10:30.
Thank you all so very much.
Appreciate it.
For being here.
Thanks.